There's nothing more Scottish than the bagpipes. They stir the emotions, they raise the blood, they inspire bravery. They've even changed the course of battle. And they're a crowd pleaser with the tourists here at Stirling Castle when it's no raining. But what do you really know about their history and origins? If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. In the meantime, let me tell you their story. I'm taking you down the hill to Broad Street in Stirling Bagpipes, where we're going to see Alan Waldron making pipes. But along the way, let's talk a bit about their history. When I say bagpipes, the image you get is of our piper Daniel Sweeney there, in marching bands or a lonely lamentation. Now my videographer and right-hand man, Matt Ward, reckons that you either love or hate the bagpipes. Then again, he's English. Nobody hates the bagpipes.
Yes, they do.
Okay, right, I tell you what, we're going to do a survey. Tell me in the comment section, are you a lover or are you a hater? And I bet I win. Can we do the rest of this in a pub?
Yeah.
But bagpipes go back further than tartan-clad, broadsword-wielding clansmen. The challenge is to separate myth from history. For example, some say that Noah had a piper as he went on the ark, and he danced to that music over 2 crossed vine plants. Some argue that the shepherds who went to meet the baby Jesus played the pipes, and carvings of angels with bagpipes are numerous. There are references to Babylonians, Chaldeans, Persians, Egyptians, ancient Greeks. But are they bagpipes, a whistle, or a flute? From Neanderthal times, humans have taken a bone, hollowed it out, made finger holes, and blown. As a child, you probably used a piece of grass as a reed through which to blow and make a note. Other than percussion, woodwind must be the oldest instrument out there. So with the help of the Highland Bagpipe by W.L. Manson and a lovely little book called The Book of the Bagpipe by Hugh Cheek and a visit to Alan's shop down the street, I've put together a potted history. So what is the bagpipe? It has a chanter with finger holes to create various notes and a reed that air passes across in a constant stream. Now that second bit is important because blowing a constant stream would mean finding a way to breathe in through your nose whilst breathing out through your mouth in a steady flow. They call that circular breathing. And it's a similar technique to the one that politicians use to talk out their arse. That's a difficult skill to master. So back in the midst of time, somebody said, hold on, what if I used an inflated bag that I could squeeze the air out of in a steady flow whilst blowing in intermittently? And that is when the bagpipe was born. So, when was that? Some say that the first reference to a bagpipe was around 425 BC by the Athenian poet Aristophanes, but it seems the earliest corroborated record was the Emperor Nero. There's more than one reference to Nero playing pipes with a bag. In fact, as everything collapsed in the final revolt against his crazy rule, he promised the gods that if they would just get him out of trouble, then as a penance come Thanksgiving, he would play on the bagpipe in public. Some have even said that it was the bagpipes that Nero played as Rome burned. Wonder if Rishi Sunak can play. So bagpipes need a reeded chanter to play the tunes, normally with 9 notes, a bag to control the flow of air, a mouthpiece to insert the air, and also some drones, tubes with reeds but no finger holes to give a constant tone. Now the shape and number of these drones has changed over time and place, but these are the component parts of a bagpipe. You can see how an instrument of the Roman Empire might spread throughout Europe, because you didn't only find bagpipes in Scotland. There was an instrument like the Scottish bagpipe called the volynka in the Russian Empire. The Finns had the pilai. At least 5 different kinds of bagpipes were known in the European mainland in the 17th century, each with subgroups. The cornemuse, the chalumet, the musette, the surdegna and the Italian peasant's bagpipe. You find them in Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Flanders. Eastern Europeans insist that they invented them. Poland, the Czech Republic, Ukraine, former Yugoslavia, Romania, Bulgaria and Macedonia all have their own bagpipe histories. You even find them in England. Of course, today, you still get folk playing the Northumbrian pipes in the north of England, but way back in the 12th and 13th century, there are references to bagpipes elsewhere in England. Edward II, no less, the man sent homeward from Bannockburn to think again when he tried to relieve that castle up there, was recorded as paying a musician at his court for playing the bagpipes. On our side, there are those of Clan Mingus who claim that at Castle Mingus they have the remnants of bagpipes that were played to muster the clan before the Battle of Bannockburn. It almost feels like there was a dark age between Rome and a Renaissance in the 13th century. Had bagpipes been here all that time, or did they spread from continental Europe in medieval times? We know that they were used as a processional instrument in church. They were a popular instrument for pilgrimage. In Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, Robin with a bagpipe leads pilgrims on their way. But the relationship between church and bagpipe wasn't always melodious. Some saw them as an instrument that gave rise to inner passions and desires, lusts and avarice. So you'll often see carvings of base animals like pigs playing bagpipes. They might even be seen as instruments of the dark side. But we'll come back to that. Bagpipes must have been played in Scotland as early as 1446, because we see the carving of a piper in the beautiful stonework of Roslin Chapel. And earlier still, we have a bagpipe playing pig carved in the rebuilt Melrose Abbey after Richard II's attack in 1385. Even earlier still, there are records of payments of 40 shillings to pipers during the reign of Robert the Bruce's son David II in 1362. Although they tell me that those pipers came from England. What? In the reign of James II, there's a record of payment also to English pipers that are come to the castle gate and play it to the king. £8 and 8 shillings. Coming up here, taking our jobs. What did we have need of English pipers for when even Scottish kings played the pipes? James I had a reputation as a gifted musician. Scotichronicon, written in his time, says that the king played the tabor, the psaltery, the organ, the flute, the harp, the trumpet, the small shepherd's pipe, and of course, the bagpipe. On the night of his murder in the Blackfriars Monastery in Perth, it's said that he passed his time in singing and piping. His great-grandson, James IV, born in that castle, reigned over a golden age of Scottish Renaissance culture and Scots language. Piping was prominent at court. Like with those Canterbury Tales, when James went on pilgrimage to holy shrines, he took a piper with him. But they were also at the English court at the same time. Henry VIII himself owned a set of bagpipes. So bagpipes were pretty ubiquitous, not just in Scotland, but throughout Europe. And they were played both at high court and by peasants in the fields. And then, with the development of municipal boroughs, they found another role. With the expansion of the boroughs, market towns, and the economic activity around them in the 15th century in Scotland, merchants were aspiring to the style and ostentation of the courts of king and nobility. They started to employ official town pipers who would march up and down this very street at the start and the end of the day to raise folks from their beds or sing them back to sleep. This wasn't in the Highlands, but lowland commercial towns and boroughs. It was in the border areas. It was here in Stirling. I'll be doing live shows of stories of Scotland in Scotland and abroad throughout 2023. So check out the link to my website in the description below for all the details. Back then, Broad Street here would have been the centre of the town around the Market Cross, and just next to it is Stirling Bagpipes. The first time I went in here, I felt it was like an Aladdin's cave, a museum, a library and an artisan's workshop all at the same time. It's run by a great character and bagpipe maker, Alan Waldron. If you're looking for anything bagpipe related, I can't recommend better than Stirling Bagpipes. Alan!
Oh, hi Bruce.
Hey, on a wet day in Stirling.
Aye,
It's been changeable. Hey, listen, I've just been telling people about the borough pipers that used to go up and down the streets hired by the council all those years back, medieval times and all that kind of thing. Now, this shop would have been here then, wouldn't it?
Hey, not quite, but I can show you here a historical print that I got done by Owen Kirby. It's a carving.
Right.
And it's a limited...
So is it a wood carving or?
It's a lino cut.
Oh, right,
He's famous. And it's from the Stirling Council archives, of what a piper would have got paid.
Like the guys that would have been, and what they would have been paid.
Yeah, and sometimes they included a drummer. Back in 1672 up to 1727, these are real characters here. He's in the National Museum. That's the Piper of Grant, and here you've got John Ingalls and Alexander Glass and all that. This guy gets a house and a new costume every 2 years and
he
things.
Must have been a good piper. And some of them have got like bellows pipes, and some of them have got...
That's right, that's a border pipe. Yeah, that's Geordie Syme there. So you'll notice that some of these have got 2 drones, that's the earlier ones, and these are 3 drones which we currently have today.
Very good.
That one there.
Very good. And do you sell them to people when they come into the shop?
I do, aye. They're 25 quid on the website, aye.
Are they? I tell you what, can I take one off you?
Aye, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to do? For we've 25 quid, that's pounds for our American cousins, isn't it? Right?
It is.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a competition for the people that are my Patreon members. The first Patreon member to send in a message, if they're going to put up their wall, that they want one of these, then I'll send the one that you give me out to them. So anyone that's on one of the Patreon members, and if you're not a Patreon member, why aren't you a Patreon member? That's brilliant, right?
I keep a record of where they all are in the world.
Oh, so they need to send us where they are, so
that's right, aye.
You've got a map of where all these... How many of them are there?
There's a limited edition of 200.
200, right,
So they're all around the world, from Chile to Hong Kong, Singapore,
and wherever our patron
Los Angeles
is, it's going to be the next one.
They'll have to get their wee pin on the map.
But you've got loads of others. See, when I look up here, it's like a museum. You've got... How many chanters have you got up there?
Well, these are all the Blackwood ones. These are all old ones. The oldest is about 250-year-old. The youngest ones are 50, 60-year-old. There's about 300, aye.
Wow. And do you play them?
They're all really flat, so nobody really would... Today's pitch and piping is a lot higher than what it would be 100 years ago. So nobody would really
over time, the pitch of a bagpipe has gradually gone up with the length of skirts, presumably. I don't know. That seems strange. Is that we don't know why that is?
There's a few different theories, but that's the fashion is on piping. It's gone up, and we've changed the bores as well on the pipes to accommodate the higher pitch.
So you like the thickness of the bore inside has changed, and that changes the tone of it as well.
Aye, on one or two sections for this section here, the base bottom section has been reduced.
Right. But the thing, and ultimately, that's what you do in here, is you make these, isn't it?
I do, and I restore antiques, yep.
Right.
As well.
Can you show us what the process that you go through?
Aye, well, let me demonstrate some that I'm working on here. For instance, the wood comes to me like that. That's a base top section. It's from Africa, Tanzania. It's hard as can be.
It's pretty heavy.
Aye,
if I knock these together,
can I?
Oh, that is heavy, isn't it? Aye. Jings, aye.
Give them a crack, a smack together, there'll be no dent.
Oh, aye. I tell you what, that'd be good for mugging. Do you know what I mean? Aye.
Well, when it first came into the country, the first thing that they used it was for ballast in ships.
Is that right?
And the first thing that they used it for was policemen's truncheons.
Is that? And now you're making bagpipes out of it?
Yep, that's... so the first way, it comes like that there, with it's waxed at the end, and that's already been cut from tree for the past 3 years anyway.
Right,
and the
before
first
it
thing
gets to you.
Is to find the centre of it, you crisscross it, and then you bore a wee hole like that. And then you put a hole down through the centre like that, turn it into the round, and put a hole through the centre. So it'll sit like that for a further year, and then I make it round like that so it can dry out. And so it's, at that point, these ferrules here, it's done all its drying, and these ferrules won't be falling off, which it would if it was done too quickly.
And then you use a lathe to turn it into this detailed shape?
Aye, I've got different chisels that follow the different shapes here.
Can you show us doing that?
I can, aye.
Right. And when you go off and do that, I'm going to tell the folks some stuff. Is that okay?
Okay.
And we'll maybe come back to you and watch you doing it later.
Aye.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
Alan.
okay. See you.
The pitch of chanters is just one of the things that's changed about the bagpipes over the years. Now, you might notice that some of the borough pipers in Alan's print are playing a bellows-blown bagpipe, and the last time I was here, Alan showed me an example of one that he'd made. Instead of blowing it in the bag under your arm, you pump air in a set of bellows under the other arm. Even these bellows pipes come in numerous different types: border, Northumbrian, Irish, small pipes. Smaller certainly than the Highland bagpipe as we know it. It also meant that the air didn't have the moisture from your breath, and apparently that helps with the life of the reed. The cold wind pipes were energy saving, labour saving, and were better indoors. But they take a slightly different skill set. Of course, bagpipes are made up of up to a dozen and more separate pieces like this that Alan turns on his lathe. All pipes have drones, and Alan explained how drones can be adjusted to tune their sound. Also, how the shape of the chanter affects the volume, with a cone that's narrow at the reed end and then wider at the bottom, producing the much louder sound of the Fiat mower. In fact, that reminds me, it's about time that we got on to the Highland Great Pipe. As the centuries passed, bagpipes weren't as widespread as they had been for several reasons. Other instruments with wider range of pitch became more popular. And as society changed, there wasn't the same need for portability as there had been in pastoral life. You can imagine how folk music and highbrow start to separate, and what had been instruments at high court might decline. Now, don't get me wrong, bagpipes are still played across Europe in various different forms. They tell me that Handel, having seen bagpipe players in Italy, included bagpipe music in the Messiah. The shepherds played them, remember. But travelling troubadours destabilised the rigid social order of feudal Europe. Their lifestyle and morals could be seen as subversive. More and more, bagpipes were seen as a peasant instrument. Worse still, an instrument of the devil. We mentioned the link with the sensuous, and with presbytery records of pipers being censured for playing on a Sunday, thus profaning the Sabbath. Some said that they were even supernatural. As James VI, 17th century Berwick witch trials, women of Trinent confessed to dancing with the devil to bagpipe music. In Tam O'Shanter by Rabbie Burns, the witches danced to bagpipe music played by Satan, who'd taken the form of a big black dog. He screwed the pipes and gart them skirl, till roof and rafters awed the dirl. The bagpipes just weren't as respectable as they used to be. But they were gaining another role. In 1513, an hereditary piper from Jedburgh in the Scottish border lowlands played at the Battle of Flodden. At the Battle of Pinkie in 1547, the last pitched battle between Scotland and England, a French observer tells us of a piper playing to encourage Highlanders in battle. Welcome to the era of the Highland Great Pipe. Now, as enthusiasm for the pipes waned elsewhere, their importance had been growing in the Highlands. The prominent instrument of the Gaeltacht had always been the harp, the clarsach, but things were changing. Now, it might be helpful to focus on the Linn and Creich, the centuries of raids, battles and strife. It was during that period that the influence of the harp and of the poets decreased, and the role of the great pipe increased. We're told by the 16th century historian George Buchanan that in his time Highlanders used both, and that feels like a kind of transition period. Bards were a hugely important part of Highland life. The bard would roam the battlefield, exhorting his clansmen, reminding them of the glory of their forefathers and the triumphs of battles past. His voluble vehemence might turn to loquacious lamentation later, but in the midst of battle would spur clansmen on to greater valour. I'm told that the last bard that we know to have acted officially in battle was MacVurich of Clan Ranald, who recited at the Battle of Harlow in 1411. He was so disgusted at the growing popularity of the pipes as his replacement that he composed a set of verses denigrating their use. But you can see how the voice of a poet could never compete with the volume of a great pipe. And you can see the path from MacVurich, so revered on the battlefield that he was safe from the sword slash or axe blow, to a lone piper on a Normandy beach who the Germans let live because they thought he was crazy. Bard MacVurich at Harlow and piper Bill Millen on Sword Beach 500 years later performed exactly the same role. Of course, after the din of battle, both the bard and the piper would lament the loss. And for some time, a clan chief would have both bard and piper in his retinue. But the great pipe replaced the harp as the iconic instrument of the Highlands, and it's become a weapon of war every bit as much as the voice of the bard had. After Culloden, on the 15th of November 1746, piper James Reid was executed at York as a rebel. The judge waved aside his defence that he carried no weapon, saying that no Highland regiment marched without a piper. Post-Culloden, those pipers marched for regiments in the British Army rather than their clans. Whether or not the Roman Empire brought bagpipes here, it's certainly the British Empire that took the Highland Great Pipe across the world. New Zealand, Australia, the US, and of course, Canada, where piper Bill Millen had grown up. But further still than that even, Jordan, Oman, Nepal and more have military bands playing the Highland Great Pipe. In competition, some of them are even beating us at our own game. But worldwide, the pipes are synonymous with Scotland. If you'd like a video of me trying to learn how to play the pipes, let me know in the comment section. If you want to hear the story of McCrimmon's Lament, there's a video coming up on screen now. Oh, and support the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member or buy me a coffee in the description below. Ha mi an dochas gwn bí lam alaif. Siere an drasta.